when you want to change your life, but fear talks you out of it. I've seen it so many times as the body is waking up, your energy is shifting, your passion, your sensuality stirring. There is a moment most women hesitate. This is where many stop. They let the mind take over. They tell themselves they'll come back to it later. Then that voice, the one that says, is it really that bad? That's the fear. But nothing's wrong, right? You're fine. Except, fine is the new numb. Fine is the mask. Fine is the cage. Welcome to Sacred Soul Sparks podcast, where devotion meets desire and the feminine awakens in our full magnetic power. I'm Michelle Cross, a guide for women reclaiming their sensuality, their voice, and the sacred union within. Each episode, a raw transmission from my soul to yours, inviting you to come home to the truth of who you are, a woman wild, soft, and untamed, and deeply powerful. So let's dive in. When you want to change your life, but fear talks you out of it. You know something has to change, but it's like that moment when you get quiet enough to hear that whisper that the other voice kicks in. That voice, that one that says, is it really that bad? Do you really need to spend that much? Or who are you to want more when you already have so much? Yet secretly, there's part of you that craves more. More sexiness, more magnetism, more soul deep desires, more intimate connection. You want to feel wildly desired again as the well-loved woman, fully seen, heard, and met on all levels. But that longing, the one that lights you up in the quiet moments, gets buried under the grocery list, under the next Zoom call, or the 10th group masterclass, or the pile of laundry, or the partner you haven't truly touched in weeks, or dare I say it, years. The smile that you wear when you don't even feel like crying anymore, because crying would mean something's wrong, and nothing's wrong, right? You're fine, except fine is the new numb. Fine is the mask. Fine is the cage. I'm dedicating this podcast to the woman who is the glue, who keeps the business running, who keeps the family fed, who gets the shit done, who people call when everything is falling apart, but in the quiet corners of the day when no one needs her, she wonders, who the fuck is holding me? And she's exhausted. And maybe she used to feel sensual, lit up, wild, creative, free, alive. Or maybe she's just curious about all of that. But now she feels responsible, needed, that's nice, respected, but she's bored and rarely met or truly seen as the woman. She's doing everything right, but her soul is quietly wondering, is this all there is for me? And this is what my clients come to see me about. That's why I'm speaking to it. Here's the truth. Most high achieving women don't admit the very thing that they crave the most is to let go. They want change, connection, softness, surrender. But that also triggers the fear, because it would mean to unravel a part of themselves that looks like it's working. And that is terrifying. And then the fear talks you out of it. Because when you've built empires out of coping mechanisms and being the strong one, this is just like a trauma response in stilettos or wedges. But here's what I want you to know, the resistance, that fear, that doubt. It's not a no. It's actually your nervous system doing what it's meant to do. Protect you from the unknown and keep you in the familiar or the paradoxically safe. And even if the unknown is your pleasure, even if the unknown is your peace, it's still unknown when you're forever doing everything. Every time you say no to that whisper, you don't just delay your dreams, you chip away at your aliveness and you send your body the message, not today, you don't matter, keep performing. Until one day you don't even remember what desire feels like. You forget how it feels to crave, to glow, to soften, to take up space unapologetically. And so what I see women are often doing is watching all the YouTube videos, watching the reels, joining the group masterclasses and hiding. And I've done it. You rarely receive long-lasting, bespoke, unique, energetic transformation just for you. And that is why I now only offer one-to-one. Because I know how it feels to hide, to do all those endless masterclasses when you've lost connection to yourself, like I did in my menopause. So when women come to me, they move through 4 stages of change, and I'm going to share them with you because I think it will help you when you see yourself longing for more, but why you keep staying with the familiar. So the first stage is denial. I'm fine. It's not that bad. And this happens before the woman even says yes. And then when you do say yes, the triggers surface and the unknown land arises, and then it just becomes so much easier to stick with the familiar. And this is what happens in the YouTube videos, in the masterclasses. The mind is going to try to limit you, deny, and try to convince you that it's not so bad, and that, or you may feel withdrawn or confused or hurt. But the denial phase is the protective mechanism. And this is why I love in the mentorship space that when this arises, I hold them through it. Because the only way to rewire the transformation is to recognize the denial and to move beyond it to create the transformation. Because then when you enter it a little bit more, the next phase is the resistance. Where, okay, maybe I do want more, but I can't, not now. It costs too much. And again, it's the heart and the anger and the anxiousness and the powerlessness that arises from the triggers when we are resisting a new way, and maybe it's okay how it was. And what happens when the resistance comes up is we usually project it on others. And it's the ego holding on again to the familiar. And I see this often before I mentor someone and definitely during. But that resistance is the edge. And it's that edge that then can go into the real juiciness of the transformation. And that resistance can even come up in the big O. And then the juicy part of the next phase is the exploration, the practice. I'm so curious that there is something else, something more. And this is the phase that I love with mentoring women, because they begin to slow down. Their nervous system begins to regulate. They begin to breathe deeper. They begin to trust, where they enter the practice and the mind is quiet. And they receive the insights and the downloads and their inner voice. And the emergence of who they're becoming begins to arise. And they're staying with these phases. They're staying with the practice, with the portal. And this is the commitment. I'm doing this. I'm not waiting for permission anymore. I'm going for it. I want change. I deserve this. I want to experience this. I am worthy of this. And this is the energy that clears the blocks so that the clarity comes flowing in. So no matter where you are, you may see yourself, especially in the denial and the resistance. And you might start to be committed, but then you lack commitment. Or you may explore and you'll go between these. So no matter where you are, you're not behind. And I hope these phases have helped you to see what is arising. They're coming from fear. I link them intricately to the 4 levels of consciousness, and I weave them tantrically to the 4 petals of your first chakra, Muladhara chakra. And you don't need to understand any of this. That's the mind again. But it's opening your energy field, that root support of Muladhara, and your energy never lies. And this is why I work so much with the first chakra, your foundation, your root support. And the shadow side of Muladhara, it's not even the shadow side, but it is fear, the fight and flight response. And I've shared many times, Muladhara is within the yoni. And this is where Shakti, or feminine energy, resides. And all of this is just there, weaved together. The 4 phases of change, the 4 levels of consciousness, the 4 petals of Muladhara that we begin to recode and rescript. And if this sounds intriguing, you're just one breath away from your next truth. At this stage in my life, I have led the masterclasses. I've taught classes for the last 30 years. I've birthed courses and programs and spaces, but what I've witnessed again and again and again is so many women are doing it alone. They're enrolling in the self-paced courses. They're showing up in the Zoom rooms with hundreds of faces. They're collecting all the tools, following the tips, saving the videos, the reels, and they still feel the same. The shifts they long for aren't landing in their body. And this is why I work intimately with one woman, 1-to-1, because true feminine transformation isn't mass produced. It's met. It's bespoke, held, sacred, unique, just like you. When a woman sits across from me, it's not about consuming more. It's about coming home. And in these sacred containers, I meet her where her body is calling, with her, what her energy is revealing. And I've seen it so many times when your body's waking up, your energy shifting, your passion, your sensuality stirring. This is a very moment that women hesitate. She feels the activation. She doesn't know how to integrate it. She starts the journey, but she doesn't have the support to stay with it. She opens the portal, but isn't sure how to fully embody her real feminine power. And the sad truth is, this is where many stop. This is where they let the mind take over. This is where they listen to the fear instead of the love. They tell themselves, I'll come back to it later. but alone takes longer. Mentorship accelerates everything and guides you deeper and deeper through your bespoke guidance. You're fully met and fully guided. I've recently just stopped my 3-month mentoring because I see it's simply not enough time and depth cannot be rushed. So if this episode has stirred something within you, maybe a flicker, a flutter, a knowing, I invite you to stay close. Don't rush, don't leap. Just don't talk yourself out of your own becoming. You don't need a 5-year plan. You need one brave yes. And that yes might sound like, I'm not fine anymore. I want to feel alive again. I want to know what it's like to be held, seen, and reawakened. If that's you, there's a space waiting. I'm going to share more in another episode what it really looks like to work with me. But for now, I want you to ask yourself one thing. What would you change if you stopped saying no to yourself? You know something has to change, and this just might be your moment. As always, if I ignited a spark within your soul, please share it with me. Until next time, much love, sister.